Hello, friends. I'm Father Scott Vanderveer. And in this week's most recent homily for the third Sunday of Easter, we talked about how when someone knows better than they knew before, they have to do two things. They have to do better than they did before, and they have to forgive themselves for their past mistakes. Sometimes we can get caught up in those moments that we cringe over. We think, how could I have been that way? Why did I think that way? Why did I talk that way? Why didn't I say beautiful things? Why did I instead say hurtful or harmful things? Why did I have thoughts that were so closed-minded or so intolerant or so racist or whatever it is? And that is when we need to remember that we have to do the best we know how to do. That's always the call, to do the very best we know how to do. And then, when we learn new things beyond what we knew more previously, when we know better, we do better. We have to progressively make progress, but we're nowhere near perfection along the way. We're always making progress. That's what it's about, not perfection. So that brings up a very subtle distinction that a lot of spiritual authors talk about that would be good for us to consider today. That is the difference between conversion and transformation. All of us are called to conversion. That's the most religious word that you'll hear in this constellation of words. People will say, will convert to be a part of the Catholic Church, or they will have a conversion of heart or a conversion of mind. The word conversion comes from some old roots that means to view things differently, to see things in a new way. I am converted to a new way of mind, a new way of seeing, a new way of turning my heart. It always involves turning to see things differently. And conversion is not our doing. It's a gift from God. The only thing we can do is remain open to it. But conversion is a gift that God gives us. A new way of seeing, a new way of living. It is up to us to decide how we want to respond to that gift. So when we see things in a new way, we have to consider what that means for us, how our behavior will change, how we will allow our lives to become aligned with that new realization, how to become more fully in alignment with the new way of seeing that God has given us. So once we have conversion, it's up for us to do the work of transformation, to live differently, to allow our behavior to be changed. Conversion is a gift from God. Transformation is the gift we give God in the world by the choices that we make to live differently. I think 2020 was a year for a lot of us of some serious conversion. Suddenly, we had a whole new way of looking at and thinking about the most important people in our community. We used to perhaps think that the most important people were those who were the CEOs of companies, or those who were very famous, those who could fill arenas with supporters. But when the arenas were empty, and when the CEOs were in charge of companies that couldn't deliver what they created because of the pandemic, suddenly it was grocery store workers and paramedics and people on the front lines of essential work that became our heroes. Suddenly we saw that the things we thought were necessary for living weren't any longer. And some of the luxuries that we thought had become essentials, we realized were not essentials at all. Because 2020 has allowed us to have those conversion experiences, we're now given the chance in 2021 and beyond to decide how we want to transform our lives as a result. Many of us have experienced a whole awakening in the way that people of color have been treated over the years, the way women have been treated over the years, the way that all those who are in the minority group of any kind have been treated. And as our society comes to realize in a new way how that way of living is no longer going to work for us, that we have outgrown some outmoded ways of looking at things, because of that conversion, we now have an opportunity to consider, how are we going to be transformed then? How are we going to allow our communities, our hometowns, our country, our world to be transformed by these new awakenings? Conversion is a gift from God. It's what God does to allow us to see differently. And transformation is our gift of response. We have to do the best we know how to do at all times. That's a requirement for all of us being human. But when we know better, we sometimes cringe thinking back about the way we used to be. But that doesn't help. The cringing can just allow us to be humble, because humility is always a beautiful gift. But we don't have to regret bitterly the things that we did before we knew better. Instead, let's just commit that when we know better, we do better. God bless you.